blessed. You have You are among the blessed. You have been chosen by God to compete for righteous glory. 8 other champions will enter, but there can only be one Ploy. And now, introducing your host, Jake, the gluten-free careless.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men who act like children of all ages, welcome into the My Ploy. Boys, that was fun. Good draft. Here's to another good season. Hopefully better than the last one for me. All right. So we are going to talk about the draft. Yay! All right, guys. Instant reactions on the 2023 Moi Ploy Very Real draft. Let's get straight into it. I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm looking at here. Boom. All right, lovely. So what we have this time around, Eddie in the 101, myself at the 102, Peter 103, Todd 104, Brett 105, Z Warren 106, Ray 107, and Brent Tent 108. Let's just start it off with Eddie. Excuse me. Eddie with the 101 snags Patrick Mahomes, throws out a little teaser, a little smoke screen for no real reason, no real competitive advantage, that he might be going running back at the 101. However, he did not do that. He grabbed Patrick Mahomes instead. Probably a good call. But with Kelsey being injured, you never know. Could be a down year for Patty if Kelsey doesn't stay healthy. Next up, he grabs the creep. The guy who named his team I Kissed Your Mother drafts Deshaun Watson. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Then he grabs Stephon Diggs. Solid. T. Higgins. Fine. I don't like T. Higgins, to be honest. I just feel like, he's good. I just feel like his ceiling is capped. I don't know why you're drafting him in like wide receiver 12 when I don't really feel like he played 17 games last year. Finished as wide receiver 18. That was the best of his career. He would have to take a large step forwards to do better than he's done. I don't get the T. Higgins love. Ramondre Stevenson, Zeke Elliott comes to town. That could pose problems for Ramondre. Joe Mixon, insane value here at the end of the draft. His legal issues have all cleared. JT, massive question marks. Could be a huge steal that helps Eddie surge late season, or could be completely wasted pick. Time will tell. Goes GK at the 808. Jerry Jeudy, Pittman. We won't go through the entire thing. Basically, the picks that I loved from Eddie, I loved the Joe Mixon value. I love the Patrick Mahomes pick. Don't get cute with it. Just lock it in the 101. James Conner here could be a great value. They don't really have anybody in Arizona. They're going to feed him the rock. They don't really have a starting quarterback either. So, volume, dog. He's just going to get volume. Zay Flowers is another one of my personal pet picks here. I love Zay Flowers' pick. And I think the Elijah Moore is a cute little stack with Creeper, Voldemort. I think that could be good. I think it could be really good. All right, moving on. We're going to skip me. We're going to do the bookends first. We're going to talk about Van Conyu. Conyu comes away in the first 3 rounds with McCaffrey, Kelsey, Kupp. Honestly, that has the potential to be the number 1 player at each of those 3 positions. That's a strong start with a lot of upside. Now, Kupp is dealing with a hamstring where he did have a setback. Considered day to day, it's much better than being week to week, but it really doesn't tell us much. So 30 years old. You just hate to see guys getting soft tissue injuries in their 30s. It's usually a bad sign. Now, he comes back and grabs another old man. The average age of your team, Brent, through the first 4 rounds is pretty damn old. It's pretty sure it's well over 30. All right. But yeah, grabs Aaron Rodgers here. And it was a reach on A-Rod. But you know what? I really don't like to kind of indulge narratives, but I feel like the narrative of the Aaron Rodgers revenge tour, he's just one of those guys. You know what I mean? Like, A-Rod he's just one of those guys that, like, he could just have a massive revenge tour and go on and murder everyone. You guys like my super nerdy 40K army Warhammer right here? So yeah. All right. Other picks by Brent Tent that I really liked. I feel like Isaiah Pacheco in the 9th is solid value. Kirk Cousins, probably one of the best values of this draft. Will he be amazing? No. But is he going to be really good? Yeah, probably. Let's take a look at what he did last year. Last year, Kirk Cousins ended up finishing as the quarterback 6. He didn't really wow you with any of his weekly finishes, but 20 points every week. Oh, that's his projection. I was like, why is it so consistent? But yeah, he basically puts up 20 points most weeks. Just very solid. The thing that I did not like about Brent Tent's draft is that he's going to have to start either OBJ, Adam Thielen, or Alan Lazard. And frankly, I would choose Lazard. Not only does he stack with your Aaron Rodgers pick, but I honestly think he's probably the highest upside player out of those 3 because he is the wide receiver 2 behind Garrett Wilson in New York. And Aaron Rodgers does have great rapport with Alan Lazard. And I believe Lazard had a fairly decent season last year. He did fine. Nothing special, but you got to start one of them. All right, next up, we will go in the middle. We're going to talk about Brett Fish plus Lamb equals Beaver Gerald. All right, we've got Lamar Jackson 105. What I loved about Brett Tet's draft was he came back strong with a double quarterback strategy. Only Brett Tet and Eddie Disler went with a double early QB strategy. I thought that was very, very smart. Then he comes back and he grabs a strong running back 1. Saquon Barkley has a chance to be the RB1 on the season. Mark Andrews has a chance to be the tight end 1 on the season. I feel like Jackson and Fields and Barkley and Andrews all have the chance to be the number 1 at the position. Then he goes down and grabs some high octane juice with back-to-back Gibbs and Breece Hall. Those are 2 very high variance players. Could be amazing picks, could be massive busts this year. Jahmyr Gibbs in a timeshare, he's a little small. I don't expect the running back room to have quite as many touchdowns as it did last season. However, they took him with a top 12 pick in the NFL draft. That's just wild. So they're going to have to use him or they're going to look so stupid. Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook comes to town, and he's coming off an ACL injury. That makes me super nervous. I want him on my team because I like a high variance. I'm just how I roll, but it makes me super nervous. Aaron Jones, another high variance player. Green Bay could be awful, could be awesome. J.K. Dobbins, I don't know how I feel about the pick. Personally, I'm not super stoked to start J.K. Dobbins in a PPR league. But I mean, I guess he's your final flex. Now, you did go running back with the first 5 picks of this draft, or for 5 of your first 8 picks. Pretty bold, pretty high testosterone strategy going out there in Brett land. But then comes back and somehow gets Mike Williams, Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson, Marquise Brown, and Treylon Burks as his wide receivers 1 through 5. That's crazy. I cannot believe that going super high T, you ended up with like some pretty high upside players on the tail end of this draft. And snags Geno. Geno getting an extra weapon with Jackson Smith and Jigba could be looking to even improve his total points last season. This could be a fantastic year for Geno Smith. Could be the best of his career, or maybe the best is behind him with last year. People tried to write him off. He didn't write back, though. Next up, the COVID queen himself, the Fandalorian Todd Harris. Locking in the first positional player, Justin Jefferson, coming back with Trevor Lawrence. Now, I thought that was an interesting pick because I feel like my dad, I don't know, he's got a decent mix of guys who've proven it and got some younger guys, but I feel like he mostly leans towards guys who've proven it. And Trevor Lawrence has not really proven it. He had a solid year at 8, but I mean, I guess you're taking him at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess you're taking him at QB8, so it's not really much of a reach if he finished QB8 last season. But I feel like Trevor Lawrence is projected to take another step forwards, but it is a projection. So I do like the pick, I suppose. I don't hate it. I'm nervous about Jacksonville, though, because they're the Jags. They're a bad organization. Bad orgs do bad org things. Comes back with Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, 2 old men. Stacks with Tua, nice young guy. Dallas Goedert, solid tight end here. Dameon Pierce, and then some vets in Godwin, Hopkins. A very questionable early defense. The next defense was taken, 5 rounds later? Very questionable early defense here with some very good players left on the board, like Michael Pittman, George Pickens, Jahan Dotson, Cam Akers, Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin was still on the board. Tyler Lockett. I mean, you had a lot. You had a lot that you could have done. That's what you did. And then another massive reach on Kadarius Toney. I believe this is the point where he has been auto drafting and probably just queued up his favorite guys. So expect some waiver wire movement from Fandalorian in the early weeks. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how he navigates the fab system, especially with this draft that he's had with all these reaches. Is he going to be the kind of guy who blows his fab early, or is he going to save it and hoard it? But if you don't use it, you lose it. Next up, we're going to go out to – I'm going to talk about myself next. All right. I ended up getting Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen. Somehow, my boy Bijan, knocking my microphone over. Sorry about that. Bijan comes back to me, and I'm able to make a massive stack. AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, feel really good about that. Josh Jacobs comes back. I feel fantastic about that. Chris Olave makes it back to me. DK Metcalf makes it back to me. I am super excited. Now, where I start to get nervous about my draft is right about here. Keenan Allen, I want shares of that offense, but I don't necessarily want Keenan Allen. He's just old. And I don't love old guys with soft tissue injury history. Then Christian Watson. I really wanted to avoid drafting Kyle Pitts. I'm going to be honest. I didn't really want to draft Kyle Pitts, but I was looking down. I didn't really want Hopkins, Evans, Williams, DJ Moore. I didn't really want any of those guys. So I just felt like I took the player that's got I don't know. I probably shouldn't have taken Pitts, but I want him to work. I want last year. I wanted I want to be right. And I was so wrong about him last year. I feel like I got a little bit of a gambler's fallacy. Plus, I have him in my dynasty league, so I really need him to work. Then I made a little bit of a reach on George Pickens, Jahan Dotson, mostly to give Peter the middle finger because I know he wanted both of those guys. I'm able to shore up the running backs here. I'd say my favorite picks of my draft were my first 6. I feel really good about that. Everything after that, I like him. Obviously, I like him. I drafted him. And then I kind of forgot I already had a tight end at this point and stupidly drafted Dalton Schultz. Oops. Would have much rather gotten my guy Marvin Mims here or Devin A-Chain that Peters took and that my dad took. Next up. And by the way, shout out Todd Harris, Devin A-Chain. Think that could be a steal of a draft pick. He may end up as one of the starting running backs in a high-powered offense in Miami. Raymond, the reigning Moy, grabs Justin Herbert. Now, the reason I like Justin Herbert, and the reason I would have taken Justin Herbert over Lamar Jackson, over Joe Burrow, because one, he's not injured like Joe Burrow. Two, I feel like I know that the offensive coordinator who was in Dallas, who basically led Dak Prescott to some massive, massive seasons, multiple, almost 5,000 yard seasons. And this is Dak Prescott, who's like pretty decent, not bad, not great. Imagine what he could do with this, a young talent like Justin Herbert, who's already thrown for 5,000 yards in his career. Dude, that ish is scary. And it's 6-point per passing touchdown league. Give me J Herbs. Jamar Chase, amazing value coming back at the 202. Basically a parallel pick to the one that was made at 104. They have just as much upside as each other. Comes back with the Nick Chubb. I like Nick. I feel like they don't have Kareem Hunt's been there for forever and it's just kind of hampered Nick Chubb's passing involvement. And I feel like we could go back to seeing another 49 target season from Nick Chubb when he had a great season that year. So if he gets 49 targets and manages to spike on touchdowns, more like 12, less than like 8, I think it could be Nick Chubb's best year of his career. Comes back with the Hawk strap and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Najee, amazing value with Najee. I feel like Najee Harris is a massive discount because he was playing basically on one leg for most of last year. DJ Moore, the wide receiver 1 to Justin Fields, solid. The passing attack was one of the worst we've ever seen in Chicago. I'm pretty sure this is almost all of the yards that were had through the air. So that is a very small pie. But with DJ Moore coming to town, I do anticipate that pie to get bigger. Other favorite picks by Ray. I do like the Dalton Kincaid pick. I like that you didn't have to take him super early. And, the whispers are that Kincaid is going to be more of a slot receiver, less of a tight end. So if you're able to put a slot receiver for Buffalo in the tight end position, you're going to be doing good. Now, you also drafted Hawkstrap, so I don't feel like you needed Kincaid, but at the same time, who else are you really going to grab in the 17th round? Good pick. I like the Antonio Gibson value here. Again, Gibson has a chance to be very good. He hasn't been good for a while, but I mean, he could be good. He could be good. We'll see. I'd like the Daniel Jones value here. I'd say that was probably one of my favorite picks was Daniel Jones and Najee Harris. I really like the first 3 picks. I really, really like. I like St. Brown as well. I had a feeling you were going to end up with him. Ray and I got to meet Amon-Ra St. Brown at the draft, the NFL draft. That was a good time. All right, and the final team that we are going to we have 2 teams left to talk about. The next team, we're going to talk about the Hot Sizzler. Peter Cheater, Pigu, Hot Sizzler O'Donnell, Josh Allen, amazing 103 right there. Austin Eckler, a little bit of a reach on Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is a bit of a projection. However, he did have a pretty good season last year, finishing at wide receiver 21 after a very pedestrian start to the season. Got 147 targets as a rookie. Lordy. So with Aaron Rodgers coming to town, that could get truly ridiculous. Jalen Waddle, great pick. Devontae Smith, I feel like is a T. Higgins that you don't have to draft quite as early. Now, we're less certain of what T. Higgins of what Devontae Smith is compared to T. Higgins, because Smith could take another step forward and potentially surpass A.J. Brown. He had 1,200 yards last year. A.J. Brown had 1,500. A.J. Brown had 145 targets. Smith had 136. So like their targets are pretty darn close. And if Smith takes another step forwards, there is a non-zero possibility that Smith is the wide receiver 1 in Philly. Then Peter breaks my heart grabbing the rookie sensation, the mammoth of a human. This dude is absurdly large. Basically sets every single record for a combine quarterback of all time. I think he ran like a 4.4 or something stupid like that. Like, he's insanely fast. He jumps like 42 inches in the air. He's just an insane explosive athlete at the quarterback position. Brett Tetet was texting me. He was apologizing for how bad he was in the draft. And it's like, dog, you don't got to apologize. It's not my team. I don't care. It's not my team. All right. Then he grabs Waller, another good value, potentially the wide receiver 1 on New York. Like that a lot. Ayuk, he reached down for, but at the same time, I don't have a problem with the reach that he made for that. JSN, another reach. Would I rather have JSN or Hopkins? I don't know. Hopkins is not on a pass first team, but JSN is also like a third wide receiver on a team that probably can't support 3 options. So we'll see. I do like the Cam Akers pick. I feel like Cam Akers could be kind of like this year's Josh Jacobs, where there's just a lot of negative noise about Cam Akers early, but you look at the depth chart and like, who else are they really going to start? I don't know. Beyond that, I like the Gabe Davis, Kenny Pickett, Sky Moore. I like the darts that you threw here at the end of the draft, Pigu. And the champ is here. Sorry, Ray. Let's talk about the champ. Champ goes Joe Burrow, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, and he goes the trifecta on the Dallas Cowboys. Lamb plus Pollard equals Beaver. Then he grabs Calvin Ridley, Ken Walker, Drake London, Madison, Kamara, McLaurin. Couldn't resist McLaurin anymore. Great value. Honestly, he's like you said, Z Warren during the draft, he was already on the bench. He's a bench player. We're drafting bench players at that point. Then you snag Pat Freiermuth, break Brent Tent's heart, getting David Montgomery, breaking my heart, getting Zachary Charbonnet. Oh, and you did complete the stack there. Okay. The little running back stack, Ken Walker, Zach Charbonnet. Not sure how I feel about that. Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is an interesting one. I feel like he has a potential to be a bit of a league winner at that value. And I also like the Purdy pick. I feel like he's going to give you a nice safe floor. And Rashad Bateman. Bateman has a pretty decent upside as well, as we're not 100% sure who's going to emerge as Baltimore's number 1 pass catcher. And what we do know about Baltimore is that they're going to have an increased passing volume with the new coordinator coming to town. Increased pace of play, increased passing volume. Boys, that was a blast. I love drafting with y'all almost as much as I love the sound of my own voice. And with that, Peter, Cheater, Pigus, Hot Sizzle, and I will be back later this week to go a little bit in depth and talk about the week 1 upcoming matchups. Boys, Thursday night, the Chiefs kick off against the Lions. I will be seeing y'all in the text threads. Peace.